Welcome, everybody, to Multiplication Day. My name is Ian Johnson, and I'm going to be walking you through all the different stations that we have planned to teach my third graders how to multiply. So, thank you for being here. If you are here and you're watching this right now, that means you've signed up to volunteer. And thank you, thank you, thank you. We cannot do this without your help. So, we really appreciate it. I'm going to walk you through each station and some of the guidelines for the day. And then if you have any questions, please touch base with me or my grade level partner, and we will absolutely help you answer any questions you might have. So come along with me. So first up, whichever station you choose, we're going to be focusing on the I do, we do, you do strategy, which to break it down just means you do the thing first. Show everybody what it looks like. Show everybody what your expectations are. And then we do it together. You kind of model how we do it. You can ask questions, get some feedback, make sure that everybody's on the same page before finally they do the rest of it on their own with, of course, your guidance. Next up, for every single station, regardless, there's a couple of key things that we're going to need to do no matter what. Number one, always focus on or ask your scholars to focus on the strategy that you are teaching at your station. By the end of the day, especially, the kiddos will have a ton of different strategies, and they'll want to use strategies that they've really locked into and felt good about. And that's great. However, I want to make sure they have as many tools in their tool belt as possible. So if you see them doing a strategy that they learned previously, just politely redirect them and ask them to try this strategy here at your station. Number two, especially at the end of the day, you will have scholars finish early. So what I recommend is give some challenge problems, give some extra practice problems. You'll have pages in your folders that have a list of things that they can try. But try especially to have scholars flip-flop problems. What I say, like flip-flop the factors, essentially. So for instance, 4 times 3 versus 3 times 4. You're gonna get the same product, but it will look different depending on the strategy that you're using. So it is really important that they get to see how they look different, what it looks like when you flip it. And then finally, at the very end, each station is going to be about 15 minutes. And so at the end of that, stamp each passport before your scholar moves on to the next station. Finally, the last thing is let's please make sure we use our academic language. We want to say, we want to refer to each number that we are multiplying as a factor and refer to your answer as a product. So use that. Let's kind of keep that universal so that we can use that in classroom as well. Kids can get used to that. It'll really help. Okay, let's get into it. So the first station up is the hula hoop groups. If you choose to run this station, the way it's going to look is instruct your scholars to read 4 times 3 as 4 groups of 3. So for the I do, you're going to show how to do this first, give them a practice problem like 4 times 3, and you're going to set 4 hula hoops down on the ground and put 3 bean bags in each one. After that, we'll say, hey, how many bean bags in all? 12. Fantastic. 4 times 3 is 12. We do. Maybe what you can do is set a problem where everybody has to set down one hula hoop and kind of work together to put a few bean bags in. Fantastic. And then finally, when they really get comfortable with this, the I do portion should be drawing each of these hula hoop groups in their passports. And again, if you have more time, get some more practice. Next up, we have the songs, and these are actually 2 different stations. We have the 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s as one station, and then the 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s as another. For this particular station, what you'll be doing is you'll be showing a video of Mr. Johnson's YouTube songs where I sing out how to count by 2s, how to count by 4s, how to count by 6s, etc. And you'll show the video first, But what I want you to make sure you do is have the scholars follow along as they count with their fingers, because that way, when they really get to practice, say if you do 3 times 7, you would go 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. And when they get to that 7th finger, the answer is the thing that they say. It's kind of cool when you get to division. It's a little flip-flopped. The fingers will be your answer as opposed to what you say, but you can still use the same songs, which is fantastic. So that's the station for 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s. Of course, when you practice each one of these, when you have time, ask for some practice songs, right? Like, how do we do 9 times 7? Let's sing by 9s until we've gotten to the 7th multiple. The thing we say is our answer. The product we say. Next station up is number lines. So for this station, what you're going to be doing is instruct scholars to read 4 times 3 as 4 jumps of 3. So for this, we're actively going to be drawing a chalk number line on the ground, and we really want scholars to practice jumping, moving from each number to each number, skip counting as you go. So for this, show them how to do it correctly. That I do portion should be 4 times 3. Have them watch as you skip count, 4 jumps of 3. So 3, 6, 9, 12, and the number you end on is your product. For all of these, of course, flip-flop them, when you get a chance a little bit later. But in their passports, for that I do portion, after they've got a chance to practice the we do part, what they should be doing is drawing the jumps on the number line, kind of like you see here. This is a spot where a lot of scholars make mistakes. So be very careful about correcting how they're drawing each one. Make sure that each jump starts at 0 every time and then jumps to whatever they're counting by, 3, then 6, then 9, and so on. A lot of scholars make mistakes, so be sure to check this one very carefully. Next up is arrays. For this station, what you're going to be doing is having the scholars set up arrays of blocks. So for this one, 4 times 3 is going to be represented as 4 rows of 3. So in this case, in this example right here that you see, we have 4 different rows. The rows go sideways, columns go up and down. So they have 4 rows of 3 columns, which gives you 12 squares total. You're actively going to have them make the arrays with squares at this station. So they're going to put together each problem and make an array right there in front of you. And then when they get comfortable, the I do portion is going to be drawing their arrays in their passports. So they're going to draw a miniature version of this in each one of their passports. Next up, we have bar models. So again, this is another one that's 4 groups of 3 for 4 times 3. The bar model is essentially what you'll do is you'll have whiteboards, have them draw little squares that are equal size, as equal as you possibly can get it. So for instance, if you have 6 times 8, you'll have 6 groups of 8. So you'll draw 6 little boxes, and in each box, you'll put the number 8. And if they're having trouble counting, you can have them do 8 dots instead. But really try to see, as they get more comfortable, try to have them use the numbers instead so they can get better at skip counting by 8s. Kind of puts it all together. The next one is repeated addition. For this station, you are actively going to have your scholars use connecting cubes. And the repeated addition basically is the bread and butter of what multiplication is. This is multiplying. So when you say 4 groups of 3 or 4 jumps of 3 or 4 multiples of 3, what we're doing is we're adding 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. It's 3 4 times, right? And so this is the crux of what multiplication really is. So what you have them do is they say if you have a problem like 4 times 3, you're going to have them take 4 groups of blocks and you're going to actively represent it. You can have them put it together, leave them in a pile. That's up to you, depending on what you have time for, of course. And then counting the number of blocks that they have total to get your answer. When you finally do the I do portion, what that looks like is they're going to draw that in their box, or what's even more powerful is use repeated addition. So instead of drawing the blocks, I would suggest having them write the number 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 to show 4 groups of 3 is 12. Next up is the multiplication table. If you choose this station, this one, I will actively in my classroom have a big carpet where there is going to be a miniature version of a multiplication table set up right there for the kids to walk on. And the idea is you're going to have, you would demonstrate how to use a multiplication table first quickly. And then the we do portion, this one's going to be a lot more fun. The we do portion, you're going to have one scholar, say for 4 times, for this problem, right? For 2 times 4 that we see on the screen. You're going to have one scholar stand at the top for the columns on 4, and the other scholar stand on the row for 2, and then have one of them walk until they get into the same column. And then once they do that, the number that they're standing on is going to be their product. The purpose of that is that simulates how you would use a multiplication table with your fingers. So when they get good at doing this walking on the multiplication table, then you'll have a very tiny multiplication table in their passports, but they'll also have a larger one that you can use on the table to have them do it on their fingers. And the idea is there's going to be some tough problems in there that would normally be very complicated and hard to solve. Have them use the multiplication table to find the product. Next up, 2 more stations to go. We got the nines trick. So for the nines trick, this is a fun one. Kids have everybody has a calculator on your hands that allow you to count by nines. And so the basic premise of this is the number that you, it's hard to see if I put it like that. There we go. If you are counting from the left, the number that you put down is the number that you're multiplying by 9. So for instance, if tiny little screen, if I'm multiplying 9 times 2, I'll put my second finger down. To the left of my finger is your tens, to the right is your ones. So I've got 1 10 and 8 ones to make 18. 9 times 2 is 18. And you can see some of the other examples up here on the screen. So again, this is assuming that you have it, you're multiplying by 9 specifically, but you can flip-flop the factor either way. Your product's going to be the same either way. And this is one of the only ones that won't look very different because you can only do the 9s on your hand. You can't flip it to the 2s or the 5s. So flip-flopping your factors in this case won't change how it looks, but it is what it is. This is a fun one. This one, it takes some practice. It takes, especially for 3rd grade, the dexterity of being able to put down the right finger and actively count the 10s, then the 1s. It's a challenge, so be patient and make sure you use our helper volunteers who are going to be at the station as well to facilitate. All right, and finally, the last station is word problems. There's going to be some simple word problems. They're all multiplication, but we're looking for specific keywords. In 3rd grade, we use the cubes strategy. And what that stands for is circle the key numbers, underline the question, box the math clue words or the keywords, evaluate, which means if you need to, you can kind of figure out what you need to do, or you can eliminate the extra information. That's what the E can stand for as well. And then S is solve. So the idea is on each one of their word problems, you're going to actively show how this looks. They're going to circle the numbers. They're going to box specifically the keyword each. For multiplication, if we see that keyword each coupled with an addition keyword, something like in all or altogether, something like that, we know it's multiplying. Now you can use each for division as well, so we have to be careful. You can walk them through that as well, but each coupled with a subtraction keyword would be division. We're not going to get into that today, but that is something, if you have extra time, you can definitely talk about. So the idea: circle all those numbers, box all those keywords, solve the problem with them. In addition, you will have components, you'll have regalia at the table. So if the problem is about butterflies, you'll have butterflies so the kids can actively count each one, separate them into the groups, help them solve the problem, and then write down the product on the paper. And that's it. So thank you so much for being here. Let me or my grade level partner, Mr. DeSantis, know which station you're interested in trying. And if you have any questions on any of these, please feel free to rewatch the video or check in with one of us directly, and we will absolutely help you with that. Thank you again. Have a great day.